What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Tia, and it's actually been a few days since Wild Rift released in the Americas, so chances are you're probably close to level 10 already. Today's video is all about how to win your ranked placement games, so smash that sub button and let's get right into it. One of the most underrated facts on winning more games is properly informing yourself. First and foremost, what kind of player are you? Do you think you are the highlight carry, or perhaps the facilitating jungler that sets up your teammates? It takes time to learn about what you do and like best, so take your time before hopping into your ranked games. Trust me, you'll thank us later. As you're learning about what kind of player you actually are, you're going to deal with a lot of different champions. At first, you'll not notice the massive gap between broken meta champions and underplayed champions too much. However, the important part here is that you learn as much as you can about all of the champions. You never want to be caught not knowing what a champion does. Once you've found out what kind of player you are, you should limit your champion pool. For improving, we'd advise you to narrow down your champion pool to at most 3 champions on that role. In addition to that, you want to look at the best champions available for your position and practice them. Make sure that you're ready. Don't be like me. I hopped straight into ranked without knowing anything, and yeah, as you can guess, that didn't turn out to be so hot. I definitely lost quite a few games that I would have won now. Anyway, let's get back into it. By picking a few champions for your role, you're going to naturally improve at those champions. The mechanical know-how will become muscle memory, and at some point you don't have to actively think about what to do with your champion anymore. It'll just flow. Upon reaching that point, you can put all of your brain power into understanding the game outside of your champion. The more information you can process, the higher your win rate is going to be. More than that, you're also learning about different modes your champion can enter with just a different enchantment. A marksman with a stasis enchant can position super aggro, deal a lot of damage, and potentially even bait the enemy in. An ADC without this enchantment could not do that. In order to gain the experience you need, I'd personally recommend playing a lot of normal games. This way, you're learning about the mechanical aspect of your champions without losing any marks. Sounds like a more relaxed learning environment, right? Before we continue, make sure to hit like and subscribe, as well as joining our Discord in the description below to never miss anything Wild Rift ever again. Once you learned about the best champions, you now have to learn about the best item builds for these champions. Spending your gold in the most efficient way is important if you want to win more games. Every suboptimal item can make the difference, and imagine losing to the shopkeeper. Am I right? So you'll be glad to hear that we have the only item guide you will ever need in Wild Rift, just for you. Every item may change what your champion is capable of and even how he may function inside of fights. Don't miss out on that opportunity if you want to be part of the best players on the Wild Rift. As you continue your climb, you're going to face a smaller selection of champions the higher you go. These are usually by far the strongest champions available. In order to overcome their strength, you should look into potential counter picks that make your games way easier, especially if you have some special insight into exotic picks that are usually not played. I personally got surprised quite recently. I was playing Aurelion Sol and did the usual Aurelion Sol thing, but here's the issue. I have never played against a mid-lane Evelynn as Aurelion Sol before. Weirdly enough, her hate spikes had a longer range than my Celestial expansion. And on that note, it's time for our question of the day. What were your thoughts when you queued up for your very first ranked game? Do you remember? I was kind of excited and wanted to see how it went, but it wasn't one of my best decisions. Anyway, we're curious what you thought, so make sure to let us know in the comments below. Being the best isn't something that just happens. You have to put in the time and work to improve. Growth happens over time, and anyone can do it. We at ProGuides believe that you have what it takes to reach your goal, and we are happy to help you get to it faster. The main point here is believing in your own ability. In many games, you'll be confronted with a lot of tilt, flame, and potential griefing. You cannot change what your teammates are doing. The best you can do is suggest what you want to do and hope that they follow your calls. Now, I must let you guys in on a secret that might even seem obvious. It is easy to blame your teammates for losing a game, but what did you do in that game? There might have been a way for you to change the outcome of that game, but maybe you got too emotional over your teammates' misplays to realize it. Trust me, I know that it's hard to stop being angry or upset about their gameplay, but it is most definitely worth working on. Keeping a calm head that is able to think of the future rather than the past is extremely valuable. Combining a calm head with the ability to create strategies makes up for a very dangerous duo. If you think back to a time when you just started playing Wild Rift, did you actively think about what you were doing? Don't worry, it's not uncommon to just play without giving it too much thought, but if you want to win, you should make some plans. For laning, you want to identify what champion is stronger, why he's stronger, and how to play around his kit. Once you think that you're solid lane-wise, you want to shift your focus on the other aspects of the game. Lane is just super important as it's the very first step into the Wild Rift. More so, we want to make sure that you're always in the best position possible before transitioning into the later stages of the game. As the in-game time hits 4 minutes, the very first large rotations apart from earlier Scuttle Crab skirmishes start happening. With the spawn of the first dragon, both teams usually start rotating towards that objective. You have to be aware of those timers. Depending on what role you're playing, you have different jobs prior to the objective spawning. Picture yourself playing Janna and you know that you're going to contest the dragon. You have 1500 gold in your pockets and you can go base in time. What do you buy right now? For team fighting, you should buy a Locket enchant in combination with your Lucidity boots. This way you're making sure that you have the biggest impact on the fight possible. Quickly calculate. If Locket at level 5 shields for 220 damage, that's potentially 1100 damage blocked. Now add Janna's ultimate ability Monsoon on top. That ability heals for 100 plus 50% of her total AP per second. And people say that the support role can't carry. It's really unbelievable. As a rule of thumb for all roles, you want to purchase your biggest power spike before a fight that you know is going to happen. Just having gold in your pocket doesn't grant you any combat stats. In truth, recall timings matter much more than you think. If possible, try to sync them up with your team when you plan on working together. Aside from power spikes, vision plays a huge role on the Wild Rift. Just yesterday, I played a game where my ADC just completely ignored the lack of vision and kept on dying. You don't want to be that guy that loses your team objectives because he always dies shortly before they spawn. Look at the enemy champions and respect what they can do. Keep in mind, face-checking brushes when the enemy team has a Fed Akali and you're an ADC is never a good idea. Play together as a team and coordinate your movements for vision. If you're a very squishy carry, just let Braum, walk in first. He'll protect you from anything. Now that we spoke about vision as a concept, you might as well use it as a weapon. In highly contested areas such as Dragon and Baron, you might set up an ambush. What you're looking at here are places that are uncommonly checked. The enemy will expect you in the river brush close to Dragon, but the enemy won't expect that your team is sitting inside the wolf camp, waiting for some poor soul to wander by. Familiarize with the most common ward spots and sweep their vision. Game-changing objectives such as Baron and Elder Dragon naturally pull the enemy team towards them. Be aware of the timers and look for a good time to set up the trap. Communication isn't only valuable in your day-to-day life. In-game, it makes the difference between the most elite of teams and amateurs. If you're that squishy carry, then tell your Braum to check that area. Utilize your pings, or if you happen to have some extra time on your hands, type out what you want them to do. In case they don't listen to you, there is little you can do, unfortunately. What you can do though is farm and scale as good as you can till a point where you can make the difference. However, if you still decide to face check the brushes, there is a very high chance that you're going to instantly die for it. So choose wisely. Sometimes you'll have games that look very dire. When the scoreboard says 2 to 15, it's probably not a good look. If you continue playing like normal, your chances of winning aren't very high. It's not up to you to win anymore, it's up to the enemy to make a mistake. Inside these situations, you want to look for unconventional methods. Unexpected rotations that surprise the enemy and catch them off guard. What else are you supposed to do? Imagine you're playing against a 6-0 Orianna as an Ahri. The moment you get slightly close to her, you're going to die, so why fight a lost battle? Look how you can influence other lanes to change the tide of the game. Don't be stationary in your lane, be flexible and proactive. What's the worst that could happen? Another key component of winning more games is analyzing the way you die in your games. Here, it's important to not just look at the situation where you actually died, but also at the time before that even happened. If you walk alone into the enemy jungle without seeing anyone on the map and happen to die because you make a mechanical error, it is not just the mechanical error. You made the conscious decision to disregard the information about the enemy team. Encountering 1 to 5 people is now just a matter of chance and not calculation. Taking that risk, unless you definitely have to, doesn't seem like a good play. Effectively, you died due to your lack of awareness. The mechanical error that sealed your death was just an insult to injury. Most of your deaths are your own fault in one way or another. Positioning, lack of awareness, reading the situation wrong, or just trying to go for silly plays. Work on yourself to become a better version of yourself and keep in mind, Making mistakes is not a problem, but repeating the same mistakes over and over again will be your downfall. Okay guys, let's be honest here. How many times did you just want to give up and surrender? Giving up has become one of the most common things in games nowadays. Why? Don't we all queue up to win games? Ideally, yes. Yet, you're going to see many people that simply encounter a bad situation and lose their will to play after a single incident. However, a game isn't lost after a single mistake. It takes far more than just one mistake to lose a game. Try to be as positive as possible and don't argue, because arguing doesn't help you at all. It just makes things worse. Just accept your teammates' frustration and maybe type out a quick, "My bad, we can win." Even though you know you're not the one at fault, you might appease your teammates' temper and increase your chances of winning. Honestly, the biggest tip I can give you to win your placement games is to not tilt. If you notice your mental start slipping, take a break, do some stretches, drink water, eat candy, watch bad TikTok videos, anything to get your mind back to a positive state before hopping back in. Trust me, it will help. But hey, share your best advice for the community in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and sub to the channel so you don't miss our future uploads. That's it for today, so best of luck in your placements and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna do a push-up.